Hey, baby, you must have gave me coronavirus because you take my breath away. Hey, honey, you can't spell virus without you and I. You might have COVID, but the most contagious thing about you is your smile. Baby, remember before, you can't spell virus without you and I? Honey, you can't spell quarantine without U-R-A-Q-T. Even though I have no job, baby, you're giving me a stimulus package right now. Bad. Horrible. What do you call Brie Bella's kid, Nikki Bella's kid, Becky and Seth's kid in the year 2032? You call them quarantines. The World Health Organization, you know, the WHO, World Health Organization, they announced, the WHO, they announced that dogs cannot contract COVID-19. So all of those dogs that were being held in quarantine in shelters can now be all released. So let me repeat that. Who let the dogs out? Woof, woof, woof. That's my favorite one of them all. Who let the dogs out? Okay, I think we're pretty much done. Did you hear about the germ joke? Forget it. I don't want it to spread around. All right, one more. You know why Ken in the chat did not get any of my COVID jokes? Because they flew over his head. Get it? Flew. F-L-U. What's up, everybody? It is Friday night, October 16th, 2020. I am back. This is the Don Tony Show. I am Don Tony as always. And if you notice, I didn't have to look in the lower corner of the computer to see what day it was today. If I screwed up today, it'd be a big problem. I know some of you are already aware of this. I posted a little tweet this morning about it. For those that aren't aware, 8 years ago today, 8 years, I met the most awesome woman that is alive, other than my mom, and we are still going 8 years strong today. Next month is actually the 1 year anniversary of our engagement. And you know what's interesting about our relationship? 8 years ago, we met tonight. 2 weeks later, in our relationship, Superstorm Sandy hit. And for anybody that's been a long time friend of mine, watching the shows, listening to the shows, you know that Superstorm Sandy leveled my family's property. So just imagine dating her 2 weeks into the relationship, and my mom is living with me for about 4 months because their house was devastated. air mattress in the living room, her watching TV, me trying to get busy in the other room. And, oh man, 8 years flew by just like this. So Superstorm Sandy already rocked our relationship. We just get engaged. 2020, we're supposed to have an engagement party, get married next year, and then COVID hit. And then the worst part about it, seriously, for any of you out there that saw the tweet, you already know this. I don't know if you could see it up close, but I got a sty in my eye. First time I've had one probably in about 15 years. Yesterday morning, my eye was hurting, and I rubbed it, and I rubbed it, and I rubbed it, and no genie came out of a lamp. But last night, the pain was overwhelming. And this morning, I went like this. You know when you wake up in the morning and you're like this? I did this, and I feel like something hard. And, I don't think my eyes get turned on, like other parts of the body. But I look in the mirror up close with a magnifying glass, and I got a sty. So I will tell you, I know I have said this repeatedly over the years, but when I say that tonight's show is going to be shorter, it has to be. My eye is hurting like a mofo right now, and, I want to try to salvage the rest of the evening with my significant other. So we're going to get right into everything. A couple of things I just wanted to mention right off the bat. On Wednesday, we talked about the unfortunate passing of Ryan Smile. I know a lot of you in the United States probably didn't know much about him. Kudos to everybody over the last 2 days that actually got a crash course as far as, his career in wrestling. We thought he was 31, but the actual age for him is 30. For those that didn't check out my Wednesday Night Dynamite, he killed himself, battling depression, already was retired from wrestling, started very, very young in his life, and just the mental health issues just got to a point where he just couldn't take it anymore. And he unfortunately committed suicide on Wednesday. So what I decided to do tonight, and under no circumstance will I ever pressure anyone to ever do anything. And you know how I am. I always tell all of you out there, especially in the middle of COVID, you got a lot of people out there, lazy people who have lost the drive. Unfortunately, and I've said this about my dad. My dad is in his 70s now. He's got cracked vertebrae, and he still wants to go, full steam ahead, because other members of my family, my grandfather is a perfect example of it, that if you ever stop, everything shuts down. You get into that repetitive frame of mind that you don't want to get up, you don't want to work, and I've been there. I mean, I'm still battling my weight. I'm not no skinny guy. I'm still overweight. But I got into this mode about 10 years ago. Even though I was doing hotlines and podcasts and everything, I got in such a deep depression that my life was getting up, going to the office, just getting through that. Yes, wrestling was my escape, but that was pretty much it. Eat, stay in bed, eat, stay in bed. And I relied on my secretary more and more. So especially in COVID now, people who just made the decision that they're going to just sit online all day long and not work and try to find other means of income, now it's caught up to them. And there's a lot of people out there, basically trying to get you to donate to their causes without any evidence whatsoever. And in actuality, it's just money going in their pocket. Money for Uber Eats and Grubhub and everything else. Well, tonight, for anybody that does Super Chat, every penny of anything raised tonight here for Super Chat, as soon as this show is over, I am going right on that GoFundMe. That is for his Ryan Smile's wife and his 2-year-old kid. They don't have the funds for funeral and I mean, they do, but a lot of it's on plastic. So there's a GoFundMe drive. They've already raised over $12,000. So any money that is generated tonight here on Super, unless somebody, DMs me, look, if anybody out there DMs me and says, look, I don't want my money to go there, cool. But if I don't get any DMs, and I don't think I will, every dollar that is generated tonight during the show will go to the GoFundMe, and I will post the screenshot. You could go on the GoFundMe page. You'll see my name, Anthony DeBlasi, there, and I'll put a note. This is from the Donzilla Army. I don't know if I'll say Donzilla Army because it does sound a little bit childish, but I'm going to say from, me and my family to all of, his family, just a little something. And, if we don't generate all that much here tonight, which I have a feeling we won't simply because we're not doing a really long show, then what I'll do is whatever is raised over here, I'll match it. So if we raise $100 here tonight, I'll contribute 100 as well, and we'll donate too. So now, unfortunately, and I'll have the link for the GoFundMe on the YouTube as well, in case you want to, contribute anything directly. And look, if you want to contribute directly, absolutely. But unfortunately, we have another death to report. And you should know me by now, way before I did video. I try to pay tribute to wrestler. I try to pay tribute to everybody. Of course, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but of course, when you have a luchador from the 40s or the 60s that nobody's ever heard of before, Nacho Pedro passed away at 82. If it's someone that you really don't know that's from a different era, I'll make a quick mention of it, not really get too much into it, but when it's people from our generation, and especially those that never get any attention whatsoever, all of these, and it bothers me when you see websites that are just cutting and pasting what they read on another website. We send our thoughts and our prayers, to the family and friends of Karsten Beck, who died at 33 years old. Our thoughts and our prayers. You don't care. You don't even bother to even look at this guy's history. So I try to pay a little extra tribute since so many places won't. How many podcasters are going to bring this guy up? For anybody who lives overseas, that name is very familiar. And I took a couple of notes to make sure I don't make any errors on my part. But just think about this story. I mean, one story is not worse than the others. They're all tragedies. But this gentleman, Karsten Patan, which was his real name, he started wrestling in 2006. When he originally started, was a little bit overweight, very, very green, but was a huge fan of West Side Extreme Wrestling. He was a fan. He bit the bug. The bug bit him, and he wanted to become a pro wrestler. This guy worked and worked and worked and worked, and he started, getting really talented. He ended up winning their championship, and not only that, I wrote down a few wrestlers that this gentleman has faced. Now, if you thought the resume as far as who Ryan Smile faced on Wednesday, all right, this gentleman has faced Aleister Black. He's faced Walter, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, when it was Prince Devitt, Zack Sabre Jr., the list goes on and on. This guy wrestled a couple of times in the United States, I think for CZW. And here's what's so sad about this story. Imagine being just an overweight fan, always fantasizing that you're going to be a wrestler one day. And not only do you become a wrestler, you become a champion of the promotion that you love the most. And then you're in the peak of your career and you find out you get a brain tumor. And originally he had surgery for the brain tumor. It was not cancerous. So when he was able to recover enough, he became like a GM figure. And as you see, I'm not looking at notes. It's just, I've done some research, so I don't need to, But the point is, he became a GM, like an authority figure for many, many years. And there was always a tease, a possibility that maybe he could step foot in the ring again. Now, I know some of you in the United States will recognize him a little bit in this picture. Remember when Vince Russo was like a guest, like authority figure, figurehead for a promotion, and Vince Russo used to be posting pictures of him with some wrestlers? That is him. So you might actually recognize him with the picture of Vince Russo. But just when he thought that he possibly could make an in-ring return, the cancer came back. This time, or I should say the tumor came back. This time, I believe it was cancerous. Went through loads of chemo, trying to fight this cancer, but unfortunately it caught up to him. And yesterday he died from complications of brain cancer at the age of 33. So before anybody says it, and some people will, hey, DT, how come you're not donating to his cause? Well, as of right now, there's no GoFundMe. There's no drive. If there is, next week's show, we will do something as well. So like I said, I just wanted to mention his passing as well, because it's sad. You don't ever want anyone to suffer, leading up to their death. It's a cheesy consolation, but to the family and friends of his, he's out of his pain. His pain is done. He's now at peace. And that is true. But that doesn't make anybody feel that much better. Say something about one of my loved ones in my family who is battling cancer. My grandmother, my mom's mom, who got me to be a wrestling fan. You could thank my grandmother, my Nana. She died, unfortunately, of a heart attack. On my father's side, my grandmother and my grandfather both died of cancer. And to see them suffering and suffering and suffering, yes, when it finally, their time came, you did have a little bit of, consolation that they're not suffering anymore. But they're gone. One day I'll see them again, but it still hurts. So I just wanted to spend a couple of moments to pay tribute because, like I said, outside of the U.S., I know there's a ton of podcasts that are paying tribute to both Ryan and Karsten. But here in the United States, especially those people that are just looking for those tweet hand jobs, they could care less. So rest in peace to both of them. Now, we're going to talk about SmackDown, which I thought was a pretty damn good show. Yes, the storylines, the big storylines seem to have traded brands, with the exception of Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, which is still SmackDown. But hell, if they're going to finally do a full-blown feud with Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins one-on-one, no Daniel Bryan versus Shield, that's different. But to see them one-on-one, especially at this stage of the game, yeah, I'm all for that. To see possibly Otis maybe feud with Sami Zayn, I'll buy into that. The Street Profits tonight, yeah, I know, 2 minutes and we're out of here. 2-minute warning. I think that is simply just designed for them to have a match at Hell in a Cell. So that may have been the only, part of tonight that was kind of cacas. But before we talk about that, we get into other things. I have the quarter-hour ratings for AEW and NXT from Wednesday. Pretty much will tell a very similar story of what we've talked about. And you'll see some familiar names, once again, not popping ratings whatsoever. We'll get into a couple other news tidbits as well. Programming note, if you are not aware of it already, or maybe you didn't get a chance to see SmackDown yet tonight, next week is the World Series. And because of that, SmackDown next week will air on FS1, not regular Fox. So you might want to make a note of that. Next Friday, you tune into Fox, you're like, wait, it's baseball. FS1 is where you'll see it next week. So now I'll say this, I don't tweet that much, as you notice. And if you notice, in the last week to 10 days, I've made a concerted effort to just let the goofs die. Seriously, just let them die. And I don't mean die physically, but I mean just let their negativity just die off. Just misery loves company. Let the people that have misery, let them just enjoy each other. So I don't tweet all that much. But when I tweet, I try to come up with ideas, suggestions. And finally tonight, yes, season premiere for SmackDown, season premiere of Raw as well. But finally a tweet that I made 2 months ago finally aged well. Because back when ThunderDome first started, my first impression was, okay, 2 thumbs up. I was angry the first night we had ThunderDome, and I'm still angry now, even though it's a lot better. The fan audio, the cheers, the jeers, the chants were all missing. WWE has obviously improved that. I don't think anybody out there cared that the yes chants were piped in tonight. I don't think anybody cares if a little bit of boos were piped in tonight for Roman Reigns and others. It just, we're in a different world right now. And, doing a little of that, it's not the same as when WWE altered, fan reactions when they were jeering Roman Reigns back then, when they wanted everybody to cheer. That was different. Now it's just enhancement of an overall reaction. But the one thing that I thought, and I wrote this the night that ThunderDome started, that I wanted to see some Hall of Famers on ThunderDome. I want to see some celebrities, on the LED screens. I don't know why it took them so long to do that. But tonight, because of, the festivities, Mark Henry was on ThunderDome, the LED screens. Keith Lee was on the LED. Steve Austin, Jeff Jarrett, Goldberg. And speaking of Goldberg, just give me 1 second. It's a little hot in here. I got to put the air conditioner on. Even though it's going down to the 40s here tonight, I got to do something about these lights. They're a little bit too hot, to be honest with you. But Goldberg, once again, everyone, people reporting news based on a tweet or an Instagram comment. Goldberg, you would think quotations would kind of give it away. But Goldberg earlier today goes on Instagram and he writes that he has interest in tonight's Universal title match because of his history. And he's going to be joining ThunderDome tonight. It's going to be on the LEDs. Big deal, right? My God. That is a perfect example of people who are just miserable. Goldberg is going to be on an LED screen, and it triggered anger from people out there. And if you're going to get upset because he is on an LED, oh, did you think something else? What happened to your sources? Your sources couldn't verify that when he said he's going to ThunderDome? What did you think he was going to confront Roman Reigns? What did you think they were going to set up a match after? Whose fault is that? People got triggered because Goldberg was going to be on ThunderDome. If that upsets you, seriously, you got to do some searches online and try to find a different sport, a different form of entertainment. Hell, join one side of the political scope and you'll get tweet hand jobs all day long. Wrestling is not for you anymore. You get triggered because Lars gets a second chance at redemption, and you have to do and I've talked about it before, you have to do refresher courses to remind people of what he did 10 years ago. He got fined $100,000. That wasn't Young Bucks money. That wasn't Monopoly money. That was real money. Real money. Guy didn't contest it. Guy didn't fight it. The money went to a worthy cause. He didn't even write that stuff while employed with WWE, and WWE still said, we're docking you $100,000. And accepted it, and a lot of people backstage are fighting for this guy. Sure, some people are still angry. I don't blame them. But the thing is that people out there just have a vendetta, just absolute hatred. Wrestling is not for you anymore. Seriously. It's just terrible. I thought tonight's SmackDown was a lot of fun. I thought seeing some celebrities mingling with the fans, even though they weren't really sitting with the fans, that's what I wanted since day one of ThunderDome. Oh, look who's in ThunderDome. Even if they're on there for 10 minutes. And if you notice, it was the same box because WWE, this camera is just for Hall of Famers. That's such a big deal. I mean, Jeff Jarrett, you know my thoughts as far as him as a performer. I'm glad as a human being that he was able to straighten up and get rid of his demons. It's going to be a fight for him for the rest of his life. But, he's in ThunderDome. Big deal. Big deal. Yes, Ben, I said it a few minutes ago. Keith Lee was there. And there's probably a few Easter eggs of people who may have been in ThunderDome and we didn't even recognize it. I thought it was a nice little touch. So, good. I thought tonight's show, but I will say this. If you look at the match results tonight, there weren't that many matches. It really wasn't. I will tell you, and I'm not just saying this because it's a season premiere. I know a lot of you, like me, feel that the season premiere really is the day after WrestleMania. I know a lot of you probably agree with me on that. But as far as TV goes, they want to do it now, technically, like the show after the draft. That's what it kind of feels like. So what? If you get a good show, that's all that matters. But I will tell you with the God-honest truth that tonight's SmackDown, for me, flew by faster than any SmackDown I can remember recently. And sure, there's probably some SmackDowns in 2020 that were from beginning to end were pretty damn good. But, I remember the one after Saudi Arabia, when they had the transportation issues. That was a pretty damn good one as well. I think that happened in 2020. But my point is that I honestly, for the longest time, cannot remember SmackDown flying by this fast. It was a fun show. I mean, it wasn't, extremely hard. It didn't add any new matches for Hell in a Cell, even though, like I said, I think the tag titles will end up happening. But, yeah, Michael and a few other people would say, one of the best SmackDowns of the year. Look, I don't do 0 to 10s as far as Raws or SmackDowns go because, it's a weekly episodic TV show for each one. And it's to, storylines lead to the following week, lead to pay-per-views, lead to other instances, or whatever you want to call it. That's why I prefer to focus on pay-per-views. But tonight's SmackDown, as far as entertainment value, look, I could care less about David Ortiz or some of these NFL players, where were you all during the year? You know what I mean? Like, you know what it is. Fox, hey, you want to could you do a spot on SmackDown? Act like you care. That's all it is. Next week, none of these people are going to be around anymore. It was a good overall show. I don't know what the rating is going to be like, but, what a lot of people need to understand, and this is something I've been saying since the 90s, that, when you have a really good show on television, and then you get the rating, and the rating disappoints. A lot of people, will say, oh, wow, what a great show. What a disappointing rating. Well, the problem is that most people that decide they're not going to, see, I'm touching it. Most people that decide, it is a little itchy, but most people decide when they're not going to watch a wrestling show live. They don't know it's going to be good until after the show ends. You understand? So, most people, that it's usually the following week that tells the story. The following week, if you could retain those viewers that you got the week before, maybe you get some additional viewers because they heard that last week's show was excellent. Yeah. I will tell you also, I did not like the ending with Braun Strowman. The Jey Uso Roman Reigns stuff was great. I love you too! Boom! With the chair. It was great. It was great. We all, I think, can agree that Jey Uso has a snowball's chance in hell of winning the Universal title from Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell. The big question that we're all thinking is, how bad is he going to lose? Is Jimmy Uso going to get involved? Could there possibly be a turn here or there? Could we maybe get Rikishi back? Could we get some other people to show up? Could this lead to The Rock getting involved? Aha! See, I have said for a while now, I think Big E versus Roman Reigns is a money match, possibly Mania quality. WWE is now very lightly planting the seeds of a possible match between The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Will it be WrestleMania 2021? Probably depends on where we are with COVID. Will it, and a few other things which I'll mention in a minute, could very well be put off till 2022. But the thing is that, ever since John Cena had the match with The Rock and The Rock got injured, when he does movies and does, other projects, there's insurance involved. And most of these insurance policies, will ban him from doing contact sport. It's not just getting in a wrestling ring. You get into a dirt bike, and you can't do that. There's a lot of things that he cannot do, especially after what happened with him and John Cena. So, there's been matches in the past. Ronda Rousey teaming up with The Rock versus Stephanie and Triple H. We all thought that was going down. That didn't happen. More than anything because of The Rock and the projects that he had at the time really would not allow it. And it's not that anybody's trying to be, just being selfish or, just trying to ruin a good. No, when insurance is involved, and you're talking about millions of dollars, and it's not only that, there's bonds as well. You don't just buy a bond when you want to get out of jail. I sell bonds once in a while, and there's different types of performance bonds, surety bonds. There's all different types of bonds, and the bond is a guarantee that someone is going to fulfill whatever they're going to do. So it's very, very complicated. But if the stars align, look, I said earlier about Superstorm Sandy that rocked our neighborhood over here. You look at any mini documentaries about Superstorm Sandy, and you see as far as weather and how things came together and made this literally a superstorm. It's like a once in 100-year storm. So many aspects of it had to align perfectly for it to go down the way it did. And unfortunately, they aligned perfectly and rocked this whole area. For The Rock, obviously, it's not the same, but a lot of stars have to align. Depends on what he's doing at that time, what he's going to do shortly thereafter, if he is able to compete, if COVID is still a major issue, if they can now, the way things are going, we should have WrestleMania in Florida at the stadium with an extremely large crowd. DeSantis is already allowing a lot of areas to go 100%. And I know we're not going to get into the whole debate again tonight, but remember the two words that I said in March, and I still say now in October: individual responsibility. You want to do something? You want to go to an event? You want to go out to dinner? You want to go to a supermarket? You want to go to a post office? You want to go somewhere? You want to go to a party? You want to go to and you're really concerned about possibly catching COVID, then you don't go. If you choose to go anyway, it is your individual responsibility. It is your responsibility to take precautions so you don't get sick, and it's your individual responsibility to help prevent others from getting sick. So by then, we'll have the vaccine. Not everybody is getting it. When you see on the news the last 24 hours that 50% of the country will not get the vaccine right away, even if Jesus Christ or Allah or whatever religion you're attached to, your God, if every God came down from wherever they are, their version of the heavens, if 15 gods from all different cultures all came down at the same time and said, the virus is safe, people still aren't going to take it. A lot of people don't believe in vaccinations. I brought this up in March, which I know a lot of you remember because I annoyed the crap out of you all from bringing it up numerous times. In the United States every year, only about half the country get a flu shot. A lot of people don't get it because they're afraid of allergic reaction. A lot of people are afraid it's going to give their kids autism. A lot of people don't believe in that. So there's going to be tons of people that will not ever get the COVID vaccination. But again, it's individual responsibility. By WrestleMania time, we will at least have it. And, how they fill the stadium, only time will tell. But if all the stars aligned, the money match will probably be The Rock versus Roman Reigns. And the way they're starting to plant the seed very, very lightly right now would not surprise me if The Rock shows up on a SmackDown to confront Roman Reigns about Jey Uso and this whole tribal chief thing. We have to wait and see. So, I'm looking forward to Hell in the Cell. Yes, the Reigns Jey Uso match, we pretty much know the outcome already. It's more of what twists and turns that will occur during it and afterwards. But they did a great job tonight setting it up because next weekend is Hell in the Cell. We only have one Raw left and one SmackDown left before the pay-per-view. So Monday for Raw, it's the go-home show already. But as I said moments ago, though, as much as I liked the interaction with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns tonight, is as much of how much I disliked what they did with Braun Strowman. I don't care about Braun Strowman tapping out to almost like a choke. I'm fine with that. But when he is moving around the ring, and I hate using this example, but he's moving around the ring like a dog who just got hit by a car and is along the side of the road and for about 3 or 4 minutes is just grunting in pain and can't sit up or stand up and is just... Braun Strowman looked like a dog that got hit by a car. This guy is the monster among men. This guy is a beast. And to be moving around the mat like a turtle, an upside-down turtle, was a little bit bad. You know what, Austin, I don't say Green Giant tonight because that was not his fault. The whole storyline was Roman, didn't want to do more damage, but had to, and then he wanted Jey to do the same. Unfortunately, since that took so long, Braun had to basically sell it. I mean, look how bad it was when Adam Pearce is like, give me your hand. Come with me. Come with me. They don't even pull him out of the ring. The referees don't. Why doesn't Braun Strowman just roll out of the ring? Because the whole segment with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso took a little bit too long. And it really made their interaction, again, was great. But it made Braun Strowman look like a goof. And that wasn't Braun Strowman's fault, in my opinion. So, Braun is a big dummy, says Lone Wolf. Well, I have enjoyed Braun Strowman the last 2 months. I think he's cut the best promos of his career. He's had some great matches. He's in tremendous shape. And if you remember last week, I defended him, about that B12 shot, which is legit. It was 100% legit. But again, the salty, internet, salty social media, they insisted that he was doing roids. Misery loves company. Remember that. Misery loves company. I'd rather get virtually no attention and know that I'm happy. Not everything is great, let's be honest, but, trying to take what's crap in the world right now and try to, put a positive light on it. So, very salty online. So, but anyway, couple of things. Let's answer a couple of super chats and then we'll continue. Ken terminated by DQ. Does my eye sting like when Jake Roberts got blinded from Rick Martel's arrogance? Wasn't it, people make fun of the whole Rick Martel arrogance thing. I enjoyed it. I swear to God, many years ago, I always wanted to look into getting one of those big, but I wasn't doing video. Like somebody showed me earlier a little clip on YouTube, and it was a spoof that I did like 6 years ago. Kevin Owens, when he first came to the main roster, and he was chewing all the time because of the nasal condition. And, although it was entertaining, I'm like, you see, this is why I should have been doing video at that time. Having video adds a whole different dimension when you want to do stuff. But man, I wanted one of those things, and I wanted it to work. I wanted it, and I'm going to buy one day. Oh, by the way, this Wednesday, I will be dressing up with a little funny Halloween costume. On Wednesday, I asked you for some ideas for me to wear something the week of Halloween. And some of you gave me a couple of great ideas, and I can't decide which one to go with. So I decided I'm going to go with two. And I'm going to wear one next week and the week after. I think people will get a good laugh. So Wednesday, I will be dressed. Hopefully I don't sweat my you-know-what's off, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But I liked Rick Martel. I was a big fan of his. The days of him and Tito Santana or Tony Gurria were long past, and at that time you needed to have a gimmick and a extension of your character, and just plain old good Rick Martel was not going to cut it at that time. So he was full of himself. He did arrogance. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. And I enjoyed the storyline with Jake Roberts, but my eye is really bothering me right now. But I say to myself, you know what? It's 10:47. We'll be done before 11:30. So, few extra minutes of pain. As soon as we're done, I'll, put nice little warm saline solution, let it rest on my eyes, and I'll spray some drops and close my eyes and enjoy the rest of the night. So, but great storyline. And Neil Ray, thank you, Neil, contributed to, the Ryan Smile. Like I said, after the show is over, whatever we raise here tonight, I'm going to go right on GoFundMe, and whatever we raise, I'm going to match it. And like I said, I'm transparent. I am 100% transparent. And anybody out there that ever raises money for anything, they owe you to be transparent as well. There's so many people out there, just trying to get to your strings. You remember the movie The Jerk? What an old movie. But that is a great example of what I told you. Have you ever seen the movie The Jerk? You remember when he's got all that money and people are going into his office and they're trying to convince him to write out checks for donations, and they show the cats juggling? We can't have that. That's what these people are doing online. They're trying to get you to donate to something that really, really affects your heart. And then meanwhile, when they get that money, it ain't going to the cause that they say. Not a lot, but some. It'll go towards Grubhub, or it'll go towards deodorant, or it'll go towards an OnlyFans subscription that they're, having some, playing some pocket pool with late at night. But I'm transparent, so you will see the actual donation posted. And I'm doing it tonight. I'm going to do it tonight. But again, I don't want anybody, with any obligation. I didn't forget you, Ken. I didn't forget what you put. I'm still getting into stuff. But, no. Oh, no, about me and my woman. Oh, I see what you're saying. Thank you, my friend. And you don't have to super chat me just to correct me. I am looking at the chat as well, but thank you. That means a lot. It really does. I don't care about haters anymore. I really don't, because you're all aware of it. And there's nothing that I can say that's going to change them. There's nothing any of you could say as well that's going to change them. But, you know, even when I posted the anniversary of my girl tonight, you know, there's some people out there that are so angered by something good like that. You know, they'll go offline all night long. Oh, I didn't even know you posted it. Or they won't like it, but once 99.9% of everybody else liked it, then they'll just sneak in the like, even though you could see on their wall when they actually did it. So it's all good. When I realize, and when I've been saying for 2+ years that people are smiling at my face and stab me in the back, you have no clue. I won't make it public because I'm not going to start a war. But a lot of the people out there, you know, fake. So I don't let it get to me. You know, I got all of you here enjoying the shows. Keep me going. Lighting that fire under my ass to try to do even better. And I got my family, thank God. And you know what? I want to post this as well. You know, a good friend of the show. And look, you never know if someone out there can help. All right? But see this gentleman here, Charisse, who is a friend of the show. Now, I don't bring up the Conan drive anymore because people out there think I bring it up just to give myself accolades, you know, but I bring it up now for just to, in case those that don't know. When Conan needed to get his kidney transplant done over a decade ago, it was myself and Georgia Macropolis, God rest her soul, she's an angel. We were the ones that raised over 16 grand for him to get his kidney transplant. But there's something else. What a lot of people don't know is that Chad Broadwater, never forget that name as long as I live, he was a loyal fan of the show. He donated his kidney for Conan. Fuck me and raising the drive. I cursed. I tried to go the whole show without cursing. But, you know, a lot of people think that our video, Feinstein, actually was the one that found the donor. He's actually partially right. He originally found the donor for Conan, but unfortunately his donor, the blood type, I don't believe was the same. So one of my listeners, Chad Broadwater, stepped up and said, I'll donate my kidney. And I'm not going to lie, when he first contacted me, I was like, yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Son of a bitch did. Save Conan's, donate his kidney. So we have a gentleman here in the same situation. So for any of you out there, you see the email address on your screen. He is in desperate need of a kidney. And if you know anyone that could possibly help. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't know, you know, how this could be possible. If they live in the United States, there's a waiting list. I mean, then again, Chad went to Mexico. He actually went to Mexico so he can have the transplant done for Conan. So if anybody out there could possibly help, or if you know someone that might be able to help, there is the email address, melodycharisse@gmail.com. I promised her that I would post that. So, you know, I hope we get a good conclusion to that story. So, but anyway, so let's talk about SmackDown. You know, we've already tackled a good amount of it, so let's get into a little bit more specifics tonight. They did a pre-show on Fox before SmackDown aired. It was fun. You know, it was to hype up, you know, the fact that it's the season premiere. You had some guests. Steve Austin was on, Triple H, Stephanie were on, you know, Street Profits, others. When SmackDown opened up, Stephanie and Triple H were in the ring. We had everybody on the SmackDown roster on the rampway. And, you know, they were putting over, you know, SmackDown being on Fox and its season premiere, second year. And they were also touting some of the names that were now on SmackDown. Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, New Day, Daniel Bryan, others. And then they were hyping up some matches that were going to go down tonight. One of them being the New Day, having their last, six-man tag match for now. I keep stressing the word for now. For now, I treat it like the Dudleys. Look, New Day, I personally think, maybe it's wishful thinking, I personally think New Day will ultimately follow a similar pattern to the Four Horsemen. Four Horsemen, the one that I always remember as a kid was Ole and Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Ric Flair, managed by J.J. Dillon. Ric Flair was the heavyweight champion for the most part. He was the number one guy. But even though he was the number one guy, that did not break up the fact that they were horsemen. Yes, they're in different brands. I get it. But you're going to have pay-per-views where Raw and SmackDown are together. So why wouldn't Big E bump into Kofi and Xavier Woods backstage in its show on TV? Yes, they do a podcast together. Yes, they work for the same company. Yes, they're going to be on the road still. You know, once we get out of COVID and they start touring again, sure, that's where it's going to be even bigger right now. But the emotions that you saw in the ring tonight were 100% real. And yes, they want to start focusing on Big E's career, singles, and they want him to get gold. And fans want to, look, I got up early today. I got to my office, and I do have YouTube TV. I have it again. So I watch a little TV while I'm in my office. I have the TV going in the background. And around 8:45 this morning, I had scrolled through the news channel. I really don't watch news other than the morning. I just see in the morning what happened the day before, and that's it. I don't watch news at night anymore. I don't want to go to sleep aggravated. And again, as of right now, I'm not voting for either one. I've already made that clear. Might change my mind in the next week or so, but right now I ain't voting for either. But the thing is, around 8:45, Fox and Friends had advertised that Big E was going to be on, you know, talking about the season premiere. So I posted a tweet in case anybody wanted to see it, and I saw it. The segment was about 2-3 minutes long. And I got a kick out of it because they asked him, you know, like, who was his favorite growing up? And the first words out of his mouth was Goldberg. And then I see tonight, you know, people getting triggered simply because Goldberg's going to be on an LED screen. I'm like, oh my God, man, there's some people, they just, their lives are so miserable. But, you know, they want him to go further. He came off so likable. And look, I didn't need Fox and Friends appearance to tell me that. You look at Big E, and a lot of you out there that go back with me many years, you remember when he was doing those quick YouTube clips? And, you know, this is before he even left, I think, Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee. And he was just like a dry piece of plastic on TV. Like dry, no charisma, just, you know, puss on his face. And yes, that was his job at the time. But you would see these clips on YouTube or, you know, other mediums. And I remember clearly, and I know it's on some of the older synopsis, I'm like, man, what we watch in those clips, that's what we need to see on the screen. And once New Day, it wasn't in the beginning, but once New Day really started to gel and click with the fans, then you got to see Big E being himself. Yes, wrestling is a dramatic, you know, expansion of yourself. It's loosely based on certain things, but the guy is one of the most likable, you know, when you're talking about top baby faces in WWE, Big E's got to be up there. I mean, just because he had a singles belt on the main roster yet, you know, he had NXT gold, but since he hasn't had that extended singles run, doesn't mean he can't be a top babyface. I mean, my God, look how many years Roddy Piper was a top babyface for Snuka in WWF when I was a kid. He didn't have a belt. You don't base a top babyface based on what gold they had, you know, or didn't have. So he's one of the top stars. And it was emotional to see that they're having their last match tonight on SmackDown. But they are going to reunite as a tag team down the line. You're going to see them have 6-man tags. I mean, let's be honest. WWE has a habit for the last 5 years, especially, of going back to old reliable. You know, I've been saying for how many years now that the women's roster is mostly Asuka and the Full Horsewomen. Now, sure, things have changed a little bit with Becky, you know, expecting and Charlotte being out with injury. But before that, it felt like Asuka and the Full Horsewomen. And SmackDown, even though other people would have tag titles here and there, it felt like, okay, you know, when it's really in a rut, we'll just go back to the Usos versus the New Day. I still remember when they were in the ring and they had respect for each other. And that was supposed to be the end of their feud, and they go their separate ways. Within a month and a half, right back in the ring against each other. WWE, they could get the best of both worlds. If Big E gets momentum and gets the singles championship run, or is main eventing or semi-main event, and they realize they can have their cake and eat it too and put them back together, you'll see it. So don't treat it like they're never going to tag again. It's emotional right now because in the record books, they are not together. And there'll always be a brotherhood, and they will be together again. They will definitely be together again. Remember, I say that. So, Sam blames Hogan for Piper not winning the WWF Championship. I'll tell you, dude. Sam, how old are you? And I'm not disrespecting you at all, but how old are you? I'll tell you why I say that in a minute. I'm very curious, Sam, how old you are. If you don't want to reveal, just say, I'd rather not say. Or you could lie, you know. I'm just waiting for him. There's like an 8-second delay. So I'll tell you why I'm asking his age in a second. By the way, I want to just shout out someone else. Joe Schmo. What is going on? All right, Sam's 42. Okay, all right, Sam. Okay, 43. 1985 was 35 years ago, so you would have been 8. All right, 85, or let's go 84, because 84 is really Piper, Hogan, you know, and everything else. 84, you were 7. I was a little bit older, but I will tell you, being a diehard Hulkamaniac at the time and remembering as, you know, like a teenager, young teenager, pretty much preteen, I remember WrestleMania 1. I remember MTV, you know, the war to settle the score. I remember all of their appearances on TV shows. I look, you go on my YouTube channel, and if you go back far enough, you'll see some video clips that I recorded myself from news in 1985. So I was very aware. And I will tell you with the utmost honesty that never once did me and my friends ever think that Roddy Piper had any chance whatsoever of winning the WWF Championship. It was a great feud, but they just never felt like there was any chance. You know, it's interesting, not in the case of Roddy Piper, but it's interesting in more cases like Owen Hart and Brian Pillman and others, that as the years go by and you're further away from the time that they passed, you know, their relevance on the food chain or their power on the food chain seems to get elevated. And my point is this. Anybody that was huge into the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, back in the mid to late 90s, that remember when Pillman went to ECW, I'm gonna whip out my Johnson and piss in his hellhole. Then he went to the WWF. They had that big press conference. He had the Humvee accident. Then he had a little schmaz with Austin. There was never a chance in any of our eyes that Brian Pillman was ever going to be WWF Heavyweight Champion. There was so many other people higher, more elevated. I don't think there was ever a chance. When Owen Hart stood in the WWF when the Montreal Screwjob went down, And then Owen Hart was coming out through the crowd and, messing with Triple H and messing with others and then running back in the crowd. I was full blown already in my 20s watching this stuff, approaching 30. And, 20s really, because 30 would have been the end of the decade. But my point is, none of us at the time thought there was any chance Owen Hart was going to be heavyweight champion. The only time that we thought that there was a possibility was when he was feuding with Bret Hart. When he was the only person pretty much to remain in the WWF from the Hart family. None of us ever. But you see, as the years go by and you get further away, the aura of Owen Hart, you get more and more people be like, oh man, if he didn't die, he would have been WWF champion. No, he wouldn't have. No, he wouldn't have. Let's be honest. I mean, I absolutely loved Owen. But Roddy Piper, no chance whatsoever of getting a belt. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Hogan, once he had that title, he had the stranglehold on it. But Joe Schmo, thank you, my friend. He's wondering where I get this energy. I'm telling you, I swear to God, there are times, and I'm sure you all know this. Remember when, what were those 5-hour energies? When 5-hour energies first came out, their commercial, the one I always remember is, got that 2:30 feeling again? Take a 5-hour energy. I could tell you, without any exaggeration, that every day between like 1 and 3 p.m., sometimes I pass up food to take a nap. During that time, and you know what, VJ, you're right. Piper didn't even want gold at that time. Piper didn't need gold. Some people never needed gold. That's why it always baffles me today when people are like, oh, the titles mean nothing. But then in the same breath, they're frustrated that someone else didn't get the title. Titles mean nothing. Why doesn't he have a title? So I get that 2:30 feeling every day. I have no energy whatsoever. I had to pick up my fiance tonight, and with the eye and the tiredness, you people bring me up. I'm not kidding. There was a little talk tonight that I wasn't going to do tonight's show. My eye was hurting really bad earlier, and I'm like, maybe I could just record it Saturday. Then I said, you know what? I'll be done by 11:30. I'm going to make sure I'm done like right around 11:30. Don't hold me on the exact minute. I'll get through an hour and a half. We'll have fun. Obviously I wanted to donate to a worthy cause tonight as well. So I decided to do it. But, you could, when you truly are committed to something, sometimes, it doesn't feel like work. I mean, this is a lot of responsibility, but I'm enjoying it. So, and you, as long as you all keep enjoying the show, whether you're live or you check it out on an archive, I mean, it gives you like a nice jolt in the arm. So, but I appreciate the kind words, and I'm not just saying that. I really do appreciate that. So, so Triple H and Stephanie are praising, all the additions, and then they introduce the Street Profits. Street Profits get jumped by Ziggler and Robert Roode. That sets up their match later on. Then Lars's music hits. Now, I don't know, is Shorty G now suddenly a babyface again? I know it's only one little segment, but sometimes those little segments kind of mean something. But Lars Sullivan comes out, destroys the Street Profits. Kalisto tries to get involved. He gets his ass handed to him. Shorty G tries to get involved. Sami Zayn is like, I'm out of here. He runs away. Apollo Crews gets nailed. So, I'm just wondering, I thought Kalisto was going to be a heel. I mean, could very well still be. But I'm surprised at how many people that were surprised that Lars beat Jeff Hardy today. They're building him as a monster. I did get a kick out of when Triple H was hyping him up as the freak and the super freak. And Stephanie, because she's more my age, she's like, super freak? Is Rick James here? No, Rick James is dead. But she's a super freak. She's super freaking out. I'm not trying to impersonate. I suck as a singer. Unless, I have the right pitch. But, so they're hyping up Lars Sullivan as a freak. Obviously, Lars as a freak is going to kick out something at one. As a kid, sometimes, I'm not comparing Hardy or Sullivan to Hogan or anything like that, but sometimes when Hogan would have a match with someone, a monster, they would kick out at one. And you'd have Jesse or Gorilla Monsoon or Hina make a big deal about somebody kicking out at one. Lars, this isn't AEW style. And I've talked about this on AEW. I think sometimes they're very reluctant to do squash matches. And the perfect example was Miro's first match. Miro, as I said Wednesday, should have fought Lee Johnson and Fatula? What was his name? I can't remember his name right now. But he should have fought them this week. A couple of weeks ago. That should have been his first match. Just absolute squash. But instead, they do like a 20-minute match with Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. I don't even think they should have faced those two. So WWE will do squash. Jeff Hardy's not losing any momentum because he loses to Lars. People were making such a big deal about it tonight. This is to really make Lars look like a monster. I had no problem with it whatsoever. Lars Sullivan beats Jeff Hardy. And, look, they gotta try to, start putting some rockets behind Lars. I understand some of you out there won't let go as far as, the mistakes he made when he was a lot younger. Again, I believe in redemption for some people. And some people out there, people just feel no redemption whatsoever. Have a reason to hate. And, if that's how you feel, I totally respect that. But yeah, Benjamin, I am closer to Triple H's age. Stephanie is 44. But Stephanie, you know what? If Stephanie is 44, she would have been, in the mid-'80s. She would have been like 8, 9, 10 years old. And some Rick James songs, as a little kid, you enjoy. You didn't understand the words. I remember as a very, very young kid, that song that he did. Imagine him doing that song in 2020. She was only 17, but she was young and oh so tender. Come on. Imagine doing that in 2020. Look, Eddie Van Halen just passed away. One of my favorite songs of all time, nobody ever brings up, Hot for Teacher. Look at that music video. And look at the students. Then you figure out that, no, that's not college. That's high school. I got it made. So you can still jam it, as 10 years old to some of those songs, But I think it was more weird of us, reciting rap than, as like a 10 or a 12-year-old reciting some of these songs. Because you didn't understand the lyrics. But I always bring this up with me and my friends in the late 80s, white Italian guys hanging out in Howard Beach or Middle Village at the time. And you have Public Enemy, NWA, and you have others. And you start reciting the lyrics because you just loved, and then you start, as it's coming out of your mouth and you're talking about, police and white, and black, and just felt a little awkward sometimes. But by the way, I know I've said this recently too, but if anyone that was a fan of hip hop at that time, fabulous documentary that was made in the UK not too long ago, maybe 10 years ago, about Public Enemy. Fabulous. Watched it a couple of months ago. Never even knew it existed, and I will continue saying this. The UK puts on killer documentaries, better than the United States. Some of my favorite documentaries of all time, almost all of them, originated from the UK. They just, what was that? What's that network? Something One. They have done some outrageous documentaries. Absolutely loved them. Someone in the chat will bring it up quickly. So, but, look, tonight was to, Jeff Hardy's going to Raw. So tonight was to make Lars look like $1 million. So Sky, excellent as well, Sky. But there was, no, not VH1. VH1 is in the United States. There's something, is it TV One? Am I thinking of TV One? Maybe I'm thinking of TV One. Not VH1. BBC One, maybe BBC One. Could be people still with the VH1. So, no, I'm talking about UK documentaries. I'll let you know on the next episode, but there's some fabulous ones out there. Fabulous. So, Scam, you are right. In 2020, Hot for Teacher would be considered statutory rape. ITV might be one, too. Music Box is one. Absolutely. There's some BBC 4. There are some great ones. I'm gonna make a list. And what I'll do is I'll make a list and I'll type it and I'll put it on the screen next week. I'll give you a couple of suggestions. Oh, and by the way, before anybody asks me tonight, we're going to talk about it on Monday. Mish is going to join me on Monday once again. He is en route right now on his way back to Philly. Tomorrow night, you're all welcome. For anybody that knows about those Jackbox games, they just came out with Jackbox 7. I have it. It's installed. Tomorrow night, Saturday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Right around that time, we're going to game. So everybody's invited to our Discord channel, and we are going to have 3, 4, 5 hours of nonstop laughter tomorrow night. You're all welcome to join me. But on Monday, we're going to talk about, the PWI's top 100. Almost the entire top 5 or top 10 was WWE women. I will say this for now. Without getting into any specifics, I suggest anyone out there that does not like the placement of the top 10, I suggest, or even the top 20, I suggest you go on CageNet or whatever site you go, not CageNet, might be CageNet. You go on a site that shows you the match history of certain individuals, and you have to look at people's win-loss record or just their number of their matches from September of 2019 to September of 2020. There are some people in that time span that had a very small number of matches. I get it. When someone is ranked number 1 in the world, if they're still on top, but they don't wrestle as many matches, that doesn't mean that they're no longer on top. I get it. But when you have some people who have had 100 matches and you got someone who has 7, it's very hard to take that person who has 7 and put them ahead of somebody who has 100. Now, it has to be 100 good matches. Just number of matches are not enough. But I really didn't have much of a problem with that list. But we'll talk about it on Monday. We're also going to talk Monday about Eva Marie. Rumors are flying. Eva Marie. Mish and I will talk Monday where we think she's best suited as far as WWE programming goes. So we'll get into that on Monday. Tall Man is asking me, what do I think about having general managers on Raw and SmackDown? Yeah, Raw, SmackDown, and AEW. If you notice, AEW is bringing up Tony Khan's name more and more. Tony Khan with this match, Tony Khan match, Tony Khan match. And that's fine. But when you do goofy storylines where, the Young Bucks are super kicking everybody in the world and they're just like, with the I don't give a crap and just dropping Young Bucks money on the floor. And then Tony Khan seems to be in the bathroom taking a leak every time those set. Like I said, you try to think outside the box. Like, could you imagine if they do a new version of the Elite and Tony Khan is like the Eric Bischoff of it? Don't discount that as much as you think. Because trust me when I tell you, I think if some of the wrestlers who work behind the scenes for AEW, if they all in unison went to Tony Khan and said, we think you're perfect for this. you got to do this. You could be the current, like what Bischoff was the end of. If they all in unison are saying this would be awesome, this would be awesome. I can't, maybe at first, no, that's not me, that's not, but at the end of the day, I think he gives in. So anyway, so Lars beats Jeff Hardy. Now, as you see, I'm kind of milking this a little bit because wasn't too many matches tonight. New Day had their farewell, talking about when they formed, brotherhood. You know, not much that I can add from before, but a lot of legitimate tears. Xavier Woods, extremely emotional. You know, at first when they came out, you know, they were dancing it up, having a ball. Fans were into it. They took on and they defeated Cesaro, Nakamura, and Sheamus. I don't think there was any doubt as far as who was going to win this match. But it was funny when Nakamura's music hit, it looked like New Day was getting into it as well. But after the match was over, you know, WWE, you know, putting a hot mic in the ring so you could hear a little bit of what, you know, Big E was saying. And, you know, just a lot of group hugs. A lot of fans online, you know, very emotional about this, you know, and I know I'm not the only one. I know a lot of you out there have said it over the last 2 years that, you know, you want to see Big E get a heavyweight title run. And I think we all thought, and you know, and when I say this part, you'll remember it, but I know we have all at some point said New Day was going to, quote unquote, split on TV. Even though they did the podcast that we'll never split up. We'll never split up. They're not going to split us up. We're never going to split up. And remember when I used to say, they're not management. I probably said that maybe 3 or 4 months ago. WWE management, if they see more dollar signs by doing something different, they are. They are. They don't have that kind of creative control. Of course, they have input, but I do believe you will see them again as a 3-man tag team. You watch. I will make a prediction that within the next year, and I know that's kind of a long prediction, but it's not that far away as you think. They've been together, 6 years around? Within the next 365 days, they will have a match again together. Maybe more. Who knows? Maybe by next year's draft, they're put back on the same brand. You could keep Xavier and Kofi as a tag team and Big E as singles, but they could occasionally have the 6-man tag. So that will happen again. So after that match is over, we had a segment backstage planting the seeds of Sami Zayn versus Otis. Kayla Braxton tried to interview Otis, but Sami Zayn started, you know, making fun of Otis. Otis basically grunts at him, and Sami Zayn falls to the floor. So you see something kind of brewing there. Excuse me. Daniel Bryan in the ring. First time in Thunderdome. Again, I have no problem with the yes chants being piped in. It's fine. You see the fans all doing it as well. It looks good. It matches. I want to see Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins go at it again. As I said last week, Kevin Owens and Aleister Black will still remain a little bit of a feud. We kind of got a little tease of that at the beginning of SmackDown as well. And I'm definitely looking for, will Otis Cassidy, isn't that funny, man? What happened to the trial? You know, did they just totally drop it, the trial? I don't know. We have to wait and see. Look, Otis doesn't have to cash in to take on Sammy, if you think about it. Plus, I don't know. I mean, the briefcase, it would be kind of lackluster if he cashed it in just to take on Sami Zayn, because why can't Otis get a title shot now? Why does he need a briefcase? Everyone else could get a title shot. Braun Strowman got a title shot tonight. They have no briefcase. I mean, even though we knew what the outcome was going to be. But we'll see what happens with Otis. But Daniel Bryan cuts a promo talking about, Brie Bella was in the crowd as well. I should have mentioned her too. And he's talking about, his wife and his daughter. And, He's talking about some of the names that were brought to SmackDown. He does not mention Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins comes out, and I'm not going to lie to you, although I want to see these two have a nice little program, what they were feuding over was kind of dopey, because Daniel Bryan, he thinks that what Seth is selling, he's not buying, and he thinks that it's stupid. And, you have Daniel Bryan calling it stupid, and Seth is like, no, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. That's what it was. Then Murphy comes out. Then the Mysterios come out. No potted plant tonight. No Aaliyah. But Murphy comes out, starts beating up Seth Rollins. Seth gets out of Dodge. Then Murphy is in the ring with Dominic and Ray, and Murphy extends his hand. And I know we're in COVID, but I was thinking about this tonight. How come nobody spits in the other person's hand? Seriously. I mean, I know Mr. Perfect used to spit out his gum and slap it, but more times than not, even before COVID, how come when somebody extends their hand, how come in wrestling somebody just doesn't look at it and go and just walk away? I was just thinking about that tonight. I mean, I obviously wouldn't want it done now, but they do not accept Murphy's hand, and the storyline continues. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, they get a SmackDown title shot against the Street Profits. 2 minutes and done, like I said before. We had Montez Ford, basically, he does a beautiful, dive off the top rope, splash onto both heels, but then the heels start overtaking him. Referee calls for the bell, and it was just a 2-minute schmaz. So, again, I think this leads to Hell in a Cell. All right, it is what it is. But after that, we only have two things pretty much left. Sasha Banks, Bayley, contract signing. What's with Adam Pearce and his lack of getting people to sign contracts? What is that? Again, tonight, Adam Pearce is unsuccessful in having someone sign a contract. This time it's Bayley. Bayley talking a little bit of trash to Sasha Banks. Some of the conversation was forced when Bayley's saying, I did it all by myself, and Sasha's like, all by yourself? Like, you getting triggered over that? But the rest of it was great. And Sasha Banks, probably with the line of the night, I am Sasha Banks, and my name is bigger than your title. That's a good line. That's a good line. Sasha Banks looking fine tonight. Here inside. She is a fine looking lady. Bayley's not too bad herself, but they're going to fight in Hell in a Cell. Remember, they are buddies. So you look at over the years, some people who have had feuds with their best buddies sometimes have more of a knack to make magic together. You look at the Clique, and you look at the feuds that the Clique would have with each other, and they used to really turn it up with the matches. And I think Sasha and Bayley are going to, as much as we were disappointed in Sasha Banks' first Hell in a Cell, something tells me this one is going to be spectacular. We will see. But, Sasha signs the contract, and if you watched, Sasha signed the contract like she signs the autographs. S, B, dollar signs. She does S, and the B, and does this for the dollar sign. You got to see some of the autographs out there. That's why sometimes when I want to do autographs, it's not that easy for me to find really good autographs, because some people, Becky's is actually pretty cool if you look at her autograph, the little logo that she does. But some people will just do this. That's it. And some people, it's just like, Triple H's autograph used to be funny because it used to be H, H, H. But you look at The Undertaker, he writes as straight across. You look at some other people, that's all they do. I mean, it's so easy to forge. Even Vince McMahon, although the curve is kind of difficult to recreate, you have to do it quickly. But Vince McMahon, I know it's kind of backwards on your thing, but Vince McMahon's would pretty much be like this. You know, just a V and a scribble. So, but Sasha Banks, she signs the contract. Bayley backs off. And again, we have another situation, you know, where somebody doesn't sign a contract. Last time it was Roman Reigns. Will Becky, why do we keep saying Becky? Will Bayley sign it? She's got to sign it next week. It's just basically to keep a little bit of suspense. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman. We talked about it already. Braun Strowman taps out. I like Roman Reigns using some submission moves. I actually like that. You know, during the match, Roman Reigns once again with the crotch shot, you know, basically trying to kick out of a 2, but his arm ends up between the legs of Braun Strowman and he lifts it and gives him a nice low blow. The match was fine. What I got a kick out of during this match is Goldberg appears on the screen. We knew he was going to appear on ThunderDome because he teased it on Instagram that he was invested to see that match. That's why Ric Flair was shown with the Street Profits. That's why you had Keith Lee shown during the Braun Strowman, because they're going to face each other on Monday. That's why you saw some people coming. It's just to enhance what you're watching. Well, again, I don't understand why people got so triggered because a WWE Hall of Famer was seen on an LED screen. Am I missing something here? I mean, I could see if Benoit came back from the dead and he's on the screen. Yeah, actually, we kind of did see Chris Benoit on ThunderDome. But, you know, if it's someone, I don't know, man. I think some people, they just have nothing to talk about. So, but this match was fun while it lasted. But, you know, Braun Strowman, you know, taps out, which, all right, a little disappointing. But then, you know, as I said earlier, moving around in the ring like an injured dog. And Jey Uso comes out, and Braun is still moving around like an injured dog. And Roman Reigns with like 2 chair bashes, and there's like 19 referees trying to split it up. Like, oh my God, you hit him with 2 chairs. Where were all of you when Bayley was doing that to Sasha? You know? Then it felt like the Randy Orton thing. No, Roman! No! No, Roman! No! No, Roman! Then Roman gives the chair to Jay, turns around with his back like this. Basically doing similar. Remember when Sting would give the bat to someone and then he'd turn and go like this? Raven used to do it as well. So Jey Uso, you know, Roman wants him to hit Braun with it. He turns his back. Jey Uso doesn't want to hit either, drops the chair. Meanwhile, Roman's telling him, I love you. This shouldn't be like this. You know, I'm the one, and, you know, it upsets me that you think you're on the same level as me. If I could do what I could do to him, meaning Braun, could you imagine what I'm going to do to you? And he keeps saying, I love you, Us. I love you, Us. And then Jey Uso basically smacks him, knocks him on his ass. I love you too. Boom. Nice. Just took a little too long because it made Braun Strowman look like a goof. Total goof. And that's how we went off the air. Not a bad SmackDown. One of the better ones of the year. Let's see where it builds from here. Because obviously some people who are in the ring tonight will not be there next week. So, you know, what we don't want to have happen is half the show feel like they just replayed it from Raw. We don't need Rollins, Mysterio, Aaliyah, the Potted Plant, Murphy, you know, or have a long segment. We don't need, you know, although I like Kevin Owens' oust, you don't want to feel like next week it is the lead into Hell in a Cell, so we really can't, but the week after, you don't want to feel like half the show is just Raw moved to Fridays. So, but anyway, so we have Raw this Monday, and on Raw Monday, they've already announced, I have it over here, they've already announced Asuka versus Lana for the women's title. You have Elias doing, one of his concerts. He's going to obviously insult the crowd. There's going to be soccer noise in return. Braun Strowman versus Keith Lee. And we are going to have a Firefly Funhouse segment, and I believe Alexa Bliss will be part of that as well. So, yeah, it kind of looks like Monday Night Smackdown. But you know what? Strowman versus Keith Lee, I don't mind. Asuka versus Lana, like I already talked about it on Monday, what I think is going to happen. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, before we go, 3 things I just want to bring up very quickly. Number one, there's a lot of confusion online right now about Raw Underground. Raw Underground, I know Meltzer actually used the word canceled, or used the word done. Done. Now, the truth is, what we've talked about with Raw Underground for the last 2-3 weeks is the same. Nothing has changed. When you had a bunch of positive COVID tests go down, they pulled Raw Underground. And a lot of those people who had tested positive have now recovered, but there is still a COVID scare going on. And what WWE is worried about is having some people around that ringside area test positive. And now you're putting Raw stars on Raw Underground as well. And they don't want to risk them possibly testing positive. And then they're in the ring for regular matches as well. And they could, so they're trying to avoid a reoccurrence. Now, we've brought this up. Remember when nobody was wearing a mask around the ringside area? Like what? Raw Underground? Like you're not tough if you wear a mask? The funny thing about it is, everything about WWE is a public service announcement. Yes, gritty, raw, underground, fighting, bare knuckles. It's supposed to be tougher. Give this more tough, raw environment than professional wrestling. But the thing is that back in the day, you would have larger than life stars, superheroes that would say, be cool, stay in school, or, don't do drugs or this or that. Like, it's not cool, or it ain't no joke, don't smoke. They would do public service announcements that would say, you're a bigger person by not doing something that was the cool thing to do. You would think that you would take some of these larger-than-life monsters in WWE, put a goddamn mask on them, and do a quick public service announcement that, a true hero wears a mask. Or if you want to use a funny catchphrase like only losers don't wear a mask. I'm not saying that they have to make fun of anybody who doesn't wear a mask, but like they should be pushing that, it's not too cool for school to wear a mask. Like, true champions, care about, and they never did any of that. They decide to have this aura like tough people don't wear masks, and it bit them in the ass. Now, they don't want to risk another outbreak. So instead of maybe wearing masks around the area and being a little bit more careful, no, we're just going to put the whole Raw Underground on hiatus. Raw Underground got so much praise. Yes, it added a lot of improvement as well. But the fact of the matter is, people saying that Raw Underground is canceled, I think is reckless. I think it's more clickbait. Is it canceled? I prefer to use the word postponed. That's why I put the question mark in the graphic, because everybody's saying canceled. No, I think it's postponed. COVID vaccine is just around the corner. I don't know if WWE could force employees to get vaccinated. I know they will highly encourage it. But, if this vaccine comes out and they have everybody around ringside who are vaccinated, Raw Underground could return with no problem. So I truly believe it would be asinine on WWE's part to just cancel Raw Underground. That's it. It's not coming back. Because the only reason why it's not on right now is because of COVID. So I will tell you, in my opinion, my gut feeling, that Raw Underground will be back before you know it. And I think maybe we have to wait for the vaccine. Maybe it doesn't come back for the rest of the year. We're already in October. Before you know it, Halloween's going to be here. The election's going to be here. Thanksgiving's going to be here. My vacation will be here. And then Christmas. It's going to be here before you know it. Very, very soon. So I don't think it is gone for good. I think that would be stupid to make that claim. And some people are saying that. They're saying it's done. Over. Finished. I disagree. You don't leave Arturo Ruas on Raw and Dabba-Kato on Raw and Braun Strowman on Raw and a few others, and they're just going to do stuff in the ring. You might even see a Raw Underground type match in ThunderDome. In fact, the more I think about that, don't be surprised. I will make a prediction. Raw Underground rules in a WWE ring. They will do a match with Raw Underground rules. You may not have a whole bunch of people around ringside, but you're going to see. You mark my words. You mark my words. Angel Garza talked about his leg injury from Clash of Champions. Best way I could describe it. Personal experience, and I know some of you have had this happen too. You might remember I told the story long time ago. I was playing football with my friends, and we were playing touch football. And I ran downfield to catch a pass, and I felt something pop in my leg. And I fell on the floor like a goof. And I popped like a hamstring or something. And, I couldn't walk for a little while. I don't remember how long, I couldn't walk, but I wasn't playing football for a little while since. That's pretty much, it appears, what could have happened to Angel Garza. He heard a small pop. He couldn't straight out his leg. He thought he had injured his hip. And now they have it heavily, heavily wrapped. So, Ray, when I told the tackle football story, that's when I broke my friend's leg accidentally. And then I had to carry him home. And Mish will vouch for the story, because Mish is the only person on my personal Facebook page, other than maybe one other person, that, as far as the wrestling stuff goes. And I told him who the person was. And I said, go on my personal Facebook page, and I shouted out my friend Paul. And I said, Paul, you remember when we played football and I accidentally broke your leg and I carried you home? And he's like, yeah, how can I forget? I felt so bad, man. Didn't do it on purpose. But his leg got planted, and I tackled him anyway. And his leg was in the ground, planted, and his body went one way and his leg went another. I didn't hear any snap, but I just heard screaming at the top of his lungs. I felt so bad. So thank God Angel Garza's injury is not as bad as what we originally thought. But he is not going to be 100% for a while. There was talk that Andrade may have had a little bit of a surgery, but I'll say this. Andrade is now posting pictures of him holding the NXT title. I already said on Wednesday, based on all the research that I have done, I think Finn Balor is going to have to relinquish that title. They just don't know what to do right now, and they don't want it to feel like another Karrion Kross situation. And we were talking Wednesday, wondering who could possibly be the next NXT champion. Maybe Andrade. Obviously, we need something to build to that. Maybe Andrade. Andrade is now teasing some NXT stuff, so Andrade could very well end up back in NXT. So shout out to Ken, Terminated by DQ. He knows he and I are huge Mr. Wonderful fans, absolutely. I may disagree, but he thinks Paul Orndorff should be the world champion, if not Piper. I will agree with you at only one point of Paul Orndorff's career. The great betrayal. When Paul Orndorff betrayed Hulk Hogan, obviously the match to set up was Hogan getting his revenge. But if they would have done it a different way and Paul Orndorff won the heavyweight championship, even by a clusterfuck finish, I think it's only the second time it occurs tonight, second or third. Even if it was by a BS finish, I would have been fine with it. I would have been fine with it. I got the pleasure to interview Paul Orndorff back in 2000 or no, it was 2001. It was right after 9/11. I have the interview somewhere, and it's an interesting interview. We don't just talk wrestling. He talks about Al Sharpton. He, at the time, was, in my opinion, a stark Republican. I don't know if his views have changed. This is 20 years later. But that interview was a very interesting interview, especially how we got the interview. For some of you out there don't remember the story. At the time, I was doing a wrestling hotline with Matt Zombie, Brian Damage, and the late Timmy Arson, who you knew as the ECW Zombie. God bless you, Tim. And what happened was Brian Damage worked for a collection agency. I don't know if it was for a credit card or I don't remember what institution, but apparently it might have been, you know what, I think it was cell phone. I think it was cell phone, actually. And Paul Orndorff was late on his payment. So here is Brian Damage working, making collection calls, and Paul Orndorff's name pops up. So he calls Paul Orndorff on the phone, telling Paul Orndorff to pay his bill. And they work out a deal that Brian Damage says, look, I'll put a promise to pay in the computer, but in return, would you do an interview with our wrestling hotline? And Paul Orndorff's like, yeah, I'll do it. So Brian Damage puts down some BS thing that Paul Orndorff agreed to pay, whatever. And we did the interview. And if you ever heard it, you know what I'm talking about. If anybody really wants to, I'll pull it and repost it. The audio quality is bad because we were just on telephones at the time, cordless phones. But I always took the last part of it and put it at the beginning where Paul Orndorff, we thanked Paul Orndorff for doing the interview. And he said, he's nothing like one asshole talking to another. You know, or he, you know, like, it was just funny because the whole interview was set up because Paul Orndorff didn't pay his cell phone bill. So, anyway, somebody saying my audio is off. No, it's not. It's not. My audio is perfectly fine. So, but anyway, you guys can hear me all right? All right. Let's see. Just give me 1 second, everybody, on audio only. Let me just make sure the chat can still hear me. I don't see anybody writing like no audio, so I'm sure everybody can still. It's like an 8-second delay, so that's the reason. Okay, yeah, you can hear me fine. So, anyway, so just to wrap up the rest of it, John Cena got married. He married Shay Shariatzadeh. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Now, I did see a lot of people online talking about how he milked a relationship with Nikki Bella for so many years, didn't want to get married. He meets Shay and he marries her like that. Yeah, so what? I got married to my ex and we were only dating for 2+ years. Tonight, I celebrate my 8-year anniversary with my fiance. You cannot compare one relationship to another. You don't know why Shay and John Cena click so much differently than Nikki Bella and John Cena did. people that are saying that online, to be honest with you, I don't think they even have been in a good relationship, because one thing you don't do is you don't base relationships on the amount of time. You know, you see some people meet each other and they get married within a year. Then you see some people meet each other and they get married 5 years later, 10 years later. So, you know, anybody really trying to compare the two, I think, is wrong, in my opinion. I don't even compare it to the Triple H, China, Stephanie stuff. The thing is that, you know, it's two totally different relationships. You know, look at Nikki Bella. I mean, God bless her, you know, for real. You know, she became a mom. Look at all the years she dated people and never got pregnant. Brie Bella, you know, she had relationships. She married Daniel Bryan. You can't base a relationship on how many years you've been with someone. John Cena vowed never to get married again. He met someone that he never thought he would meet, a very special woman, and they got married. Quietly, didn't need E! or People magazine or spotlights around them to break the news online. You know, to me, I mean, that's even more of an example of real deep love. That, especially with the celebrity status that John Cena has, and they still chose to have a quiet wedding, you know, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. Can't help but just to be happy for them. So I wish them nothing but the best. And I think it is wrong for anybody that's going to try to compare the two relationships. You know, you weren't in the bedrooms. You might have watched Total Divas. Big deal. You're an expert in what John Cena feels in his heart. So, last subject for tonight, AEW versus NXT ratings this week. Both underwhelming. If you followed my predictions, I was within 4,000 for the AEW rating. Nailed it. NXT, I think it was within 20,000. So I pretty much nailed it this week. But the show did feel very underwhelming. And the numbers kind of reflect it. NXTs are very concerning for me. But let me give you the quick breakdown and we'll get out of here. I know I said 11:30. We'll definitely be gone by midnight. So it'll be under 2 hours, which is fine. Under 2 hours show tonight, I can take it. So, yeah, thank you, James. This close to nailing it. One day I'm going to nail both ratings exact. But let me give you the breakdowns for both shows. And you know what? I think even Meltzer said that he was very disappointed in the AEW rating. It was the first year anniversary show. And I tell you, I appreciate Jericho, obviously. I've been a fan of Jericho for 30 years. But it felt, the Jericho 30-year anniversary show felt more special than Dynamite's 1-year anniversary. And yes, Chris Jericho deserves the celebration. I'm not saying that he doesn't. But for me, the show is AEW Dynamite, not AEW Jericho. And the AEW 1-year anniversary show should have felt much more special than Jericho's. And even though you advertise all the championship matches being defended, see, that's where you run into the problem. You have championship matches defended on TV often, you know, just because you decide to do all four in the same night doesn't all of a sudden make it special. I just felt very underwhelming that night. So here you go. AEW, Hour 1, 831,000 viewers. Hour 2, 821 for a composite of 826,000. AEW's first quarter, which was FTR versus Best Friends, opened up with an impressive 880,000 viewers. Unfortunately, as the match progressed, their viewership went down by the time that match ended, and then they did the segment with Miro and Chris Sabian, and then those two taking on Sean Maluta and Lee Johnson. The rating dropped from 880 down to 804. Quarter 3, which was the segment with MJF, Chris Jericho, and the Inner Circle, and the preview of next week's AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament, which is going to begin, rating rebounded. They went from 880 to 804, back to 876. So the viewers that they lost in quarter two, they got back in quarter three. Unfortunately, the Tony Schiavone, Britt Baker at the spa segment, a lot of fans were not feeling it all that much. The rating went from 876,000 all the way down to 765. Ouch. Cody versus Orange Cassidy, the majority of that match, and the interview segment with Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy. Now, let me explain the 765. The first 5 minutes of Cody versus Orange Cassidy falls in quarter four. So even though the whole quarter only did 765, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but for Schiavone and Britt Baker was even less than that. I think it was like 702. When Cody versus Orange Cassidy's match started, the rating started to go back up. So they ended up with 765 for quarter four. But a majority of that match, that was quarter five, and it jumped all the way up to 920,000 viewers. Now, the reason why that's important is because quarter five for AEW was 920,000 viewers. Quarter five for NXT, and I'm not even saying right now what quarter five was for NXT, as far as what was part of quarter five. But let me make my point. The first 15 minutes of the second hour, AEW did 920, NXT did 658. You add those two together, that is almost 1.6 million viewers. When you go back and you look at both shows combined, it only averaged around 1.4 to 1.5. There are points during the night where the total viewership is pretty substantial. We were close to 2 million not too long ago on 1 or 2 quarters with the ratings combined. It's just the problem is they can't keep those viewers. And when you realize some quarters combined are like 1.8, 1.9 million, and then other quarters only doing 1.4, 1.5, that means 2 shows combined, you got 400,000 viewers that have changed the channel. So people need to pay attention to that. So Orange Cassidy and Cody did 920. The angle setting up all the tag teams for next week's 4 tag team match and the rest of the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara segment, that unfortunately dropped from 920 all the way down to 761. The lowest part of the night. Hikaru Shida versus Big Swole improved slightly to 781, and the main event of Moxley versus Lance Archer only did 825,000 viewers. So you had 3 other quarters, almost half the show, that did a higher rating than Moxley versus Archer. I have pointed out that Moxley does not do bad numbers. He does not do bad numbers. I'm not even insinuating that. But Moxley is not the focus of the night. It still reigns mostly with Cody. Orange Cassidy, depending on who he's facing. Moxley versus Archer was only 825. So there you go. NXT. This is interesting. NXT, hour 1, 694. Not too bad. Hour 2, 609. Composite of 651. Quarter 1, which was the tag team match to determine the number 1 contenders for Breezango's tag titles. Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong versus Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch opened up with 781,000 viewers. Not bad. When you realize that the overall was 651 and their opening quarter had 130,000 more than the average, that tells you that some quarters I'm about to say are pretty shitty. So quarter 1 was 781. Quarter 2, which was the end of that match, the Ember Moon promo, and then Jake Atlas versus Ashante Adonis, that rating went from 781 all the way down to 685. It gets worse. The next quarter 3, which is Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae's interview, and then Gargano's match versus Austin Theory, that dropped to 669. Quarter 4, which was the end of their match, and then the backstage fight between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez, that dropped to 644. So you see, we're going down. Candice LeRae versus Shotzi Blackheart only increased slightly to 658. The outside vignette with Killian Dane and Drake Maverick, the match with Toni Storm versus Aaliyah, and then the segment with William Regal, Xia Li, and Boa, that dropped to 654. Imperium versus Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, and then what happened with Everrise, that match, it dropped. Now, this is very important. That quarter hour, which is quarter 7, went from 654 down to 560. Lost 100,000 viewers. Now, you may say to yourself, oh, well, maybe they went to watch AEW. AEW from quarter 6 to quarter 7 only had 20,000 viewership change. So those viewers that were watching NXT just decided they were done with wrestling that night. The main event of Damian Priest versus Dexter Lumis. Now, yes, Dexter Lumis is my favorite wrestler. I do not put the onus on Dexter Lumis in this case because Dexter Lumis just came back from injury and we have not really gotten a chance to monitor Dexter Lumis on one-on-one matches. But you've heard me say this 3 or 4 times in the last 2 months. Damian Priest is going to be a big star. You could see it. You could feel it. For some reason, fans are not clicking with Damian Priest. How many quarter hours have I showed you Damian Priest matches? The rating is very disappointing. The main event, which was Damian Priest versus Dexter Lumis, was only 569,000 viewers. You go back to Moxley versus Archer, which AEW closed out lower than when they opened, and then you realize that NXT ended their show with over 220,000 viewers less. They can't keep their audience. They can't keep their audience. So, what's up, Nathan? Every week I got to say what's up, Nathan. Much love, everybody. By the way, if you're enjoying this show, I'd appreciate it. You could give it a like. If you didn't like the show for any reason, give it a dislike. Totally respect it. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. As soon as we hit 20,000, we're going to start taking calls and we're going to launch a new show. Remember, next week, I'm going to do a Q&A once again next Sunday. So the thread is up on the channel. So if you want to post some questions for me to answer, I answer them all, as people saw last week. And I'll be back. When will I be back? Monday. But remember, you're all invited Saturday night to the Discord channel. We're going to be gaming Jackbox 7. You don't even need to own the game. All you need is a browser from your computer or your cell phone. And all you got to do is just click a link and you play. We laugh so hard sometimes. You don't understand. My medulla oblongata swells. And when it swells at 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't go to sleep for hours. That's how funny it gets sometimes. And Mish will be on as well. Oh, no, I didn't forget your super chat, my friend. I didn't forget. So just to finish up the ratings, as I do every week, first, AEW, 880. 80, we do 880. See, when I do this, just so you know, when I start at this level, my hand is right center into my camera. So that's how I know when to go back up to normal, just so people know. And that's my way of doing it. So 880, 804, 876, 765, 920, 761, 781, 825. So they did this, went down, and recovered somewhat. NXT, can't say the same story. 781, 685, 669, 644, 658, 654, 560. Well, that's kind of a little too dramatic. 569. So let's do that one more time. 781, 685, 669. No, it's not that dramatic. 644, 658, 560, 569. Terrible on NXT's part. Terrible. In my opinion. And it wasn't a bad show, but they both underwhelmed this week, in my opinion. So, Dream 101, why did they switch the tag titles? If the New Day showed up, tonight was their final match on SmackDown. I agree with you. If they were going to have another match on SmackDown, they could have still been the SmackDown Tag Champs. I get it. But the titles were not in play tonight, so I don't have any problem with it. And again, as I said last week, I don't mind that the Street Profits and the New Day exchange belts. I know it's corny, especially when you look at the record books, but is that something, like, what would you have done differently? And I mentioned this on Monday. Yeah, maybe you could have done something where they faced each other and maybe all the titles are suspended in the air, and one member of New Day, whether it's Kofi or Xavier Woods, grabs the SmackDown belt, Montez Ford maybe grabs the Raw belt, and that's how you do it. I don't think it would have been very creative that way. I would think it would have been too predictable. This, by them just trading belts, quick, bam, boom, done. No drama, no teasing, that's it. Out of the way. So I had no problem with that whatsoever. None. I thought it was fine. I was totally fine with it. James, how's the record books? I think it's just going to say that the titles, it's not going to have vacant, but basically, it's almost going to look like there's two. Look, I'm sure Wiki already has it. It's got to look two ways. It's going to say, like, for the Raw, for the SmackDown tag titles, you'll see New Day, and then you might see Street Profits, but then in the description, it's going to say, traded titles, traded belts. So you might see New Day, Street Profits, and then on the opposite side, Street Profits and New Day. They didn't really do anything vacant. So if you really wanted to be technical, you could say Street Profits, vacant, New Day, awarded the title. But I also think back to Triple H in 2002 with Eric Bischoff. Triple H was handed the World Heavyweight Championship. It was handed to him. So they show him getting it with no opponent, and in the asterisk it says awarded by Eric Bischoff. So to me, it's pretty much the same thing. So it was a belt swap. I mean, look, it's not the most ideal. In years past, what could have happened is, this is what you could have done, in my opinion. You could have had a feud between New Day, Cesaro and Nakamura, and still on SmackDown. Okay, I'll give you a good example. You could have done some type of a feud between the Street Profits, Cesaro and Nakamura. Cesaro and Nakamura could have still been tag champs, and maybe you have the Street Profits have a friendly challenge to New Day, and New Day win the belts from the Street Profits. Okay, so the New Day win the Raw tag titles. Okay, they get drafted to Raw. They challenge the Street Profits for the title. I just figured it out. Man, sometimes I'm smart. Cesaro and Nakamura. Remember when they showed up on Raw not too long ago? Friendly challenge to the Street Profits. Remember that? And the Street Profits won. And we were like, what was that all about? They showed up on Raw. They could have done the draft. And they could have done something where the New Day were drafted to Raw. And the Street Profits, were drafted to SmackDown. But the Street Profits were still Raw Tag Team Champions. So the New Day challenged the Street Profit for the belts. And because Cesaro and Nakamura have a little bit of history with the Street Profits, now because the Street Profits are on SmackDown, as is Cesaro and Nakamura, they get involved in the match. They cause the Street Profits to lose the belts to the New Day. So now the Street Profits are on SmackDown. New Day are on Raw. They have the tag titles. Now the Street Profits have no belts on SmackDown. Cesaro and Nakamura still have those belts. They caused the Street Profits to lose the Raw tag titles. They have history. They faced each other not too long ago. So now, in retaliation, Street Profits now challenge Cesaro and Nakamura for the SmackDown tag titles because they're on the same brand. Cesaro and Nakamura lose the belts to Street Profits. So now you have New Day on Raw with the tag titles, Street Profits on SmackDown with the SmackDown tag titles. No belts are handed to each other. Was that confusing? I don't think it was that confusing. You just had Cesaro and Nakamura show up on Raw for no reason. So they have a little history with the Street Profits. They could have caused the Street Profits. You could have still done the draft. New Day goes to Raw. Okay, we challenge the Street Profits for the tag titles. They don't win it clean, but Cesaro and Nakamura caused them to lose. Cesaro and Nakamura are laughing, but the Street Profits get drafted to SmackDown. So now the Street Profits challenge Cesaro and Nakamura for the SmackDown tag titles and win them. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Hey, Mikey, he likes it. Man, I'm revealing my age now. So that's how I would have done it. That's how I would have done it. So anyway, everyone, we did 2 hours. A little longer than I originally planned, but, definitely less than last week's show. I think it was manageable. I am going to jet out of here for tonight. I want to thank you all for the support as always. Keep spreading the word. We're just touching the surface. I'm only on YouTube for 8 months. You got people out there 8-10 years. So I got a lot of catching up to do. But I'm having a ball so far. And, as time goes by, things will get tweaked, changed around a little bit, improved. Some things tighten. I hope you all join me Monday night with Mish. We will definitely be recapping Raw and getting to a couple other things. And I hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe, as always. Please, if you have any comments about tonight's episode or maybe what you saw on TV or anything that we talked about, post it in the comments section. And like I said, I will go on the GoFundMe for Ryan Smile within the hour, and I'll make the donation, and you'll all be able to go over there and see it for yourself. And, it's not a lot, but, every little bit helps. You'd be surprised. And I thank you all for the support as always. So much love. And that's it. So be well, everybody. I'll see you all again Monday night. Ciao.